through the rest of it?
Working on that.
Yeah, good. So I wanted to start by asking you a few things. I want you to tell me a few things about the beginning, the way it appears. Are there things about that that would have seemed odd? Like, here we are in 1820, I'm buying this at the music shop, as one did, and then what? Like, so I'm looking at it, and is that the way piano sonatas look?
Not this, usually.
Even right there.
I mean, honestly, to me it looks very usual, especially in context of the rest of what you're saying. Like,
Well, but late Beethoven, but we're in 1820, right? So I go to the shop. I'm saying it that way, by the way, because what was the audience for these pieces? Were they played in concerts? Just say no. No, they were not. So, I mean, as far as we know, I mean, this isn't precisely documented, but during Beethoven's lifetime, it seems there were 2 performances of piano sonatas in public. One in Vienna and one in Boston. And in Boston, it didn't go well, according to the diary of the lady who did it. So piano sonatas were living room music, right? Bought by amateurs, done what with? Did they play them coherently from beginning to end? I doubt it. I'm not sure, we don't know. So when was the first time people started to actually play this music in concerts coherently as we do from beginning to end? Well, it was much later, 1840s maybe, 1850s, I don't know. Liszt did sometimes play the Moonlight Sonata apparently. Okay, there's a lot of odd things. What about the meter? Is that a normal first movement? It's in 3/4, right?
I guess so.
No. What's the first movement normally?
4.
4/2, right? So it's always 4/2. 3 comes later in the piece, not at the beginning. What about the tempo marking?
Moderato, cantabile, molto.
Moderato? Is that normal?
Yeah, no.
No, thank you. What's normal?
Allegro.
Allegro. And in fact, I'm not sure because there could be other composers of which I am not aware, but I think that's the first time moderato was used. So we see it in Schubert later, in the last piano sonata of Schubert, right? He started out to write Allegro moderato, and then he scratched out Allegro, and so we're left with just moderato. But I think this might be the first ever. Okay, what about the key?
On A flat.
Thank you. What's odd about that?
Well, it's got a lot of flats.
Okay.
Usually,
All right. What are your favorite symphonies in the classical period that are in A flats?
well,
There aren't any, right? So why not? In that case,
not best for string resonance.
and the winds, right? So they couldn't play, the horn can't play an A flat, trumpet can't play an A flat. So private music for the home, yes, A flat I can still do, and it's very intimate kind of sound, I think. We still didn't have, there was tempered tuning, but not equally tempered tuning, so A flat would have had a very special poignancy. So give us a little harmony lesson. What's going on here? We start on A flat, and then this 2 bars, what does that 2 bars do?
Well, it's tonic.
Okay,
It's not
so
really
can you leave, yeah, you're right. So can you leave out all the details and just play the harmony change? And if you think about the rhythm, so we have tam, right, it lasts a long time. Body. Is this a normal way to voice such a thing? Right, and you notice that it's inversion, right? So, right, so I think. Oh, by the way, is it a saraband?
No.
Yes,
It is?
I think so. I think, and also the last movement of 109, same rhythmic outline. So, and what's important about that is that I don't think this is important. So you did what many people do. I heard ta da ti ta ti da. That was nice, but I don't think that's what it does. I think it's a half cadence. Di ta. Right?
Sure.
Yeah. Can you try once? Leave out all the details again. Just play 2 chords. It's the first one and the last one. But I think it's more. Right? I think so. So, I mean, again, there are many, many ways to use this, and you can listen to Anders Schiff play it, and he probably does the opposite of what I'm talking about. But I think to an 18th century or early 19th century musician, it would have been very clear that the sound of that goes to that. And you know, it's a thing, Leopold Mozart talks about it in his book about playing the violin, that you know, most phrases are strong and weak. And the only time that's not true is when either the harmony shows you something else or the value of the notes shows you something else. And that's another thing that's strange. The longest note was the last one. Chi ta tam ta ti da. And I would suggest that's the reason, right? Because it's a rising inflection, it's a half cadence, it's not a finished sentence, and neither is that one. So by just hearing the first 4 bars, I think in the way we do it, we should be conveying that this is not a 3-minute long piece. It's not a 10-minute long piece. It's a longer piece. Ta, chi, right? I'm on and on and on and on. And if I shape chi, ta, tum, ta, ta, ti, ta, 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 ti, ta, I mean, the piece is almost finished already.
Yeah.
Right? So I haven't created a big enough space for it. So I think that besides just following directions, it really is about the overall thing. What's the sound of that bar? I'm looking at 5.
To me, it sounds very much also like classical music.
Yeah.
Classic string quartet.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Violin notes.
Right. Those are high notes for the other string. But yeah. Can you play just the left? Use the pedal. So I don't know if you guys hear what I hear, but I hear a little ya-da. Can you get rid of it? Now I hear a crescendo, I hear da-dee-da-da. The piano kind of does that, right? Modern piano kind of does that. So I think you've got to work against it. And I think to your point of strings, if it were strings, then one string would be down there, da, and then da, 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 would be a string crossing, right? So there would be a slight emphasis on the first one. So it's actually a syncopation. Bumpy, 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 slightly. But sometimes because of the way you use your hand, the last one turns out to be louder and more energized. So you want it to be less. The least is the last one. Ta-dee. What do you hear? The third one is like crazy wild. Like it less. Yeah, right. And then, I mean, it might be a heresy. Your teacher won't like the idea, but you could hold the pedal. I think. What about it? Try once with both hands. Pedal down for the whole minute. Right. Because the trouble with changing the pedal on the beats is we lose this. If you change the pedal again, then I'm losing that. And I think, I mean, you've thought about this before, right? What's your understanding of overtones? So I'm trying to sustain this melody note. I'm constantly playing this. That's the first overtone, right? You can hear. So as I'm playing all this, I want to be touching this in such a way that it's actually making this note sustain more. And in fact, now I'm doing what you can't do on the piano, which is to play a long note, right? So he's figured that out. You know, he's not the only one. But you've thought about that in other pieces by Beethoven, maybe, I don't know, does anybody play Opus 7? So, right? Why that chord? Why that chord? Weird. Those are all the overtones, right? So here's part fundamental, first overtone, second overtone, third overtone, fourth overtone, sort of. So by doing this, if I don't even play these notes, I just touch them, I actually, sorry. Right? Here's the chord. So he's doing it here too, right? So all these notes are energized by that. I think, so following Leopold Mozart's advice, most important note, it's the longest note value. Can I get that? So yeah, so that's the problem, right? So if it's the outcome of this, it's going to be way too little. You have to start the opera singing right on the dough. I know you practiced it that way, but you played this loud. So I hear conditioned by later 19th century aesthetics. And, you know, in Puccini, it probably does make sense to go up. But in this music, we're still left with the residue of the 18th century, and in general, when notes go higher, they become thinner, right? And it even has to do, I think, with people's ideas about God, you know? So human beings are down here, and I go higher and higher, and I don't really belong here, you know? So, and that fits with the old instruments, right? So what's louder on the harpsichord, low notes or high notes? Low notes. What about Mozart's piano? Same story, right? So on Mozart's piano, you know, yeah, you hear that, but when you hear this, it's like that. You know, like you cannot do, there's no way you can do that. You know, we can do it. So, and that was true of all instruments. What about violins? So, you know, in the 20th century, people started putting metal E strings on the violin to make the high notes louder, right? But before that, they were not loud. They were quieter. The making of all wind instruments follows the same pattern, right? So the loudest way that the flute exists now in the high register, but that was not true in Beethoven's lifetime. So in every way, when you go up, it's thin. And when you're down in the middle, it's much more resonance. Doesn't mean louder necessarily, but when you see some chord like, you know, when you see these kinds of chords, those have got substance, right? They've got a lot of substance. All right, so I won't continue to torture you there, but it's an interesting layout of sound, and I do think that without perhaps pushing it down to the floor, but a lot more pedal would help us understand the overtones better. And you do want to be careful that these are so played in a way that they don't have accents or crescendos. You notice this maybe, but here he puts these dots, right? And how about this part? Right. But I'd like to be prepared though. So yum ba 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 be ba be ba. Yum ba 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 be ba. You're right. Can I get it? So can it not be a dynamics thing, but just a touch thing? How do you mix them? Yeah, that was pretty good, but you didn't do that. So I mean, staccato, we were talking about legato before, bound to the key, right? So, anybody got a little Italian? So staccare, what's that word mean? Verb? No? As I understand it, it actually means torn apart, right? So if I had my piece of paper there and I went, that would be staccare. So what is that talking about? I said that legato meant that your finger is touching the key surface when you make the sound. With staccato, in order to really make staccato, you have to remove your finger, right? So I have to get away somehow. And I can do it different ways, right? If it's fast piece, I might just do it with my finger. If I'm doing a slower piece, I might do it with my hand, my arm even. But in order to really be staccato, I need to get off, you know? And I think you can, and it has nothing to do with the pedal, by the way. So you can have the pedal down and play staccato. Beethoven teaches us that in Opus 1, in Opus 53 in the Waldstein, right? Right away, one of his first written pedal markings with the word P-E-D and down underneath. And in the last movement, he has short notes and staccato notes, and the pedal is down for 2 bars. So it's like, obviously, these are not in contradiction. Your string playing friends might argue with you, and they'll say, but it's supposed to be short. But it's not supposed to be short, it's about how the sound is produced. So anyway, I would love to be able to get, you know, this difference of sound, and then these I think you want to produce on the keyboard, right? So there's just a different sound, and the pedals down too. I think. We want to do one more time, and then we'll go on. So I think the hard thing is not to make a crescendo. It hurts if you go yup up up up. You don't want these to be louder. Actually, they're less. So it would probably be fun to just play with the pedal down and just play all these notes and hear what that sounds like. Right. Oh, by the way, they're the same notes. Right? He was using the resonance of the piano up there in the same way, it's just spread out more. I was talking about what slurs mean in that Chaminade piece. So if we believe them, I'm now over here at bar 20, 21. It's like a nowhere, right? Do you believe that? So, it's a cadence, right? G, but I don't think you want to make it, right? I think it's that. So, can you just play this and just stop there? Yeah, yada, dotty. I don't know what's going to happen next. It's a very complicated puzzle, isn't it? Because we have in the right hand long, short, long, short, long. So the long notes need more substance, and the thumb notes need to be less. But the left hand has the opposite design, right? Short, long, short, long, short, long. Can you play the left hand by itself? I think the second note could be more, but not an accent. It's legato. And also legato coming back up again, so you want to be sure that one's also connected. Better. Yeah, better. Right. And so aren't the two basic conflicts in the piece embodied in that two measures, right? So is it strong, weak, or is it weak, strong? Right? So I was trying to convince you that you should go to the second beat here. That's what he's doing, right? So one voice is T, strong, weak, strong, weak, strong. The other voice is weak, strong, weak, strong. And in case you really didn't believe me, what about the development? Look at that. So now we have single notes, D, da, 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 huge chord, yum, ba. I said the high notes were thinner, so he's making up for it and showing us the emphasis pattern, I think. Also the crescendo happens, right? But only in every other pair. So it doesn't happen here, it only happens there. So. Small detail, I wish the trills continued. Don't stop. What's the emphasis in this little moment? Just play right here.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, dolce bar. But I see well, what was the design of the beginning? And what's the design of this? Yeah, that was pretty good, by the way. So, he's sneaking it in, right? Right. By the way, what did Beethoven call that? Do you know that? So, Beethoven speaks of Kunstvereinigung. What is that? Kunstvereinigung is like, yeah, Kunst is art. Vereinigung, Eingang would be the way I get into this room, right? An entrance. So, Kunstvereinigung would be like making a line through a piece of music that is somehow coherent. So little details like that, I mean, I just fished out one here that's very obscure, right? Because, and then this is, it's true though. So did he consciously do that? I don't know. But it is the kind of thing that is what he's talking about with Kunstvereinigung. And by the way, he says he learned it by studying Bach and Handel. So really? But I think that's a very fascinating idea, that one of the things composers in the German world in the early 19th century were starting to be aware of was how you could create a network of interconnections. And so they were constantly referring to things they already had heard, other people's music, names. How many times do we find BACH written in everybody's piece? So yeah, that's really interesting.
It comes from
Also, right? Also, what about the second one? So also.
Yeah.
So anyway, the phrase emphasis here, though, don't be misled by the high note. It's not. Yeah, I think I moved through that. What's going on with the harmony? So I thought we were in A flat. We have a nice sonata form, don't we? Kind of. And then what's all that? What? Yeah, you're right. But E major. Oh my God, really? Huh? What is that? That's completely wrong, right? Doesn't Beethoven know how to make a sonata? What's going on then? So I'm in what seems like I have a little cadence in B, it gets me to E major. I recapitulate all this stuff, but it's in E major. That is like as far away. I was in A flat, right? So I'm in E major. Big mistake, horrible. And then I keep going. I'm still, like, play right here. This is so amazing. as if nothing was wrong. Right? Da da dee da. I'm in the wrong key. Right?
Yeah, it's almost like you forget.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's a written piece, right? But this is encoding something that happens in improvisations, right? Because the reprise of the wrong key is something Cherny even talks about later on in his improv book, but they loved it, right? And of course, Beethoven does it in other pieces. Even Mozart likes to do it, right? So the idea of the wrong key, yeah, it's cool. But I think this is the pivotal moment then. So when it says, does it say rintenente? Yeah, rintenente. That's another good word. Like, what's that? Why doesn't it say ritenuto? You can ponder that. It's not the same word, but it's similar. Yeah, it's the present participle. I mean. So this is a really important moment. I don't think you should make it pretty. I think it's like the crux of the mistake, and then it's corrected. So I started out in the wrong key, and then I finally get, I'm in A flat again. So it's a big deal. Maybe our ears just can't understand those things. I wonder. We've heard everything else. But in a world where, imagine living in a world where, no Brahms, no Stravinsky, no hip hop, right? I mean, well, it would have been a different ear. And I think something like that might have been more disturbing, shocking than it is to us. This is the crux of this. I thought you played this pretty well, actually. What's going on over here, though? I'm looking at measure 100 if you're looking at your score. That is the most incredible thing. Why? What's incredible about it?
Well, I don't know, in all these, especially in thinking of 101, Beethoven has these moments a lot where like the music and time sort of just stop.
Yeah.
And there's this very...
But also remember the design I was proposing to you here. Ta, two. And he's already doing here, in case you didn't get it the first time. 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then it becomes compressed in this extraordinary way. Right? And he does it in 101 similarly. So, ta, 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 right? Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And finally writes itself, I guess, sort of, although it comes back here. I thought this was sort of true, but I wish it was better. So, yum, bum, ta, right? This makes a rhythm. Yeah, it's the same, isn't it? Bum, bum, ba da dee da dee da. Which way does this phrase go?
Well, the two lines converge.
Yeah, but that's not a finished phrase. Dee da dee da dee dum dee. Dee da dee da dee dum dum. These are like, can you do? The half note really should be a half note, I think. And it's something to think about. So in modern orchestra playing, too bad about that. In modern orchestra playing, usually people shorten long notes like that so they can be on time for the downbeat.
Right.
That's not what people did in the 18th century. So, and solo violinists still don't do that, right? So think about the difference. If I play ya dee da dee dum dum, dee da dee da dee, I was sort of on time, I shortened the half note. But what if I want a full half note? Dee da dee da dee dum deem, dee da dee da dee dum deem, dee. So now my downbeat of the next bar is late. It's fine. It's fine. So in solo playing, it's fine.
Okay.
And the idea of keeping the downbeat the same, that doesn't really happen until the 20s. So I think it's better to make a little whole note. Half note, sorry. You often hear people do it. Boy, I've heard it so many times this year in the auditions. Da da dee da dee da da, da da dee da dee da da. But it's totally not what the piece is. When you did it the second time, this was better. What's the emphasis pattern of the right hand? Just play. Da, da.
Just the right hand?
Yeah. So, can you just play the soprano once? Good. Right. So, ya da 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 da. Okay. Get it one more time. You're making a crescendo. I don't think there's a crescendo. Good. Right. I think, what's the text? I forgot. Ich bin Lüderlich, I think is the text. It's a folk song. It's a dirty song, actually. Lüderlich means, what? I can't go into it now. Tell you later. So yeah, it's like somebody who's promiscuous, basically. So he's having a joke at it, though, because what's going on in the other part?
Big syncopations.
Which don't match. And it's my strong belief that that should not affect the other part. So as I have meanwhile I have ba, ba, ba. Does that remind you of anything?
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's the most poetic part of the first movement. Kunstvereinigung, again, right? He turns the most poetic, extraordinary, like futuristic place in the first movement into the most raucous, disturbing, profane part of the second movement. Same idea, right? Incredible. Bah, bah, bah. You know, so I really need it. Can you do it once slow? It's kind of hard to do it. So that's why you don't want this to be louder. You don't want to play yum bum because you don't want to set that up. Hard to do. But I think it would be worth practicing the soprano alone with the bass. So I get dee dum ba, and I get used to doing it. I'm getting the cue that I should stop, but I do want to ask you. Oh, this is really important. What does that mean?
2 bars.
You didn't do it, man. When can I get that part?
Yeah.
Right. And I think, count, okay, but have you practiced it without any tempo modifications? Because I think that's useful.
One word.
Yeah, can you do it again? Without any tempo change at all? Yeah, but without that, just play in time. So that needs to make sense, right? Da-da, yum bum bum. Right, that's the end, right? And then the next thing is not the same thing. Right? Yum bum bum pa is different, right? So we don't want to conflate them. Do it one more time without the rubato. I mean, it's hard when composers ask us to do something which is, in a sense, a mistake, right? I mean, he's deliberately written in an awkwardness, but you have to internalize it somehow so that you're not just keeping track, but actually able to feel it. Thank you so much for playing this. Yeah.